Today we're just going to get right into it as your favorite talking head does his best to review another Apple show. That's right, I'm their biggest fan. What can I say? This time it just happens to be Physical. Season 3 just finished, and Rose Byrne is an utter delight. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Humphrey, and for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm just another talking head doing my best to get my opinion out there because I think it matters to somebody. This time it just happens to be Physical Season 3. Starting with the new format, I'm going to give you the score right away, and I'm going to tell you that it's better than Season 2, but not as good as Season 1. 7.5. That's right. Now, I'm going to tell you what's good because I like to tell you what's good, and then I'm going to tell you why and what didn't work. Um, First off, the reason why it didn't work, some of it, is because they needed more depictions of the body dysmorphia. They needed more depictions of bulimia. People need to understand bulimia, anorexic, you name it, obesity, things like that are a prevalent thing in society. And we didn't like to talk about it for so long. And this is why this show was put on this earth. Also because Rose Byrne is fantastic. Uh, she's always been great. Damages. First thing I ever saw her in, I knew she was going to be great. And this show shows her talent. But they need to talk about it more. The pressure that women put on themselves, they put on each other. They do. And they do a great job, but I just wanted a little more of those depictions. Also, the men in the show get pushed back, and that's okay because it is definitely a woman's world, and that. But the ex-husband and the Mormon, they get pushed to the side a little bit for reasons to believe that gives Greta uh, finally sticks up for her husband, and that's $1 million right there. Good stuff. With the actress did a phenomenal job at showing great character development over the 3 seasons. But the standout is Rose Byrne. Still, she had great competition in Zoe Deschanel. She comes in as the rival Jane Fonda. No, not Jane Fonda. Pamela Anderson, who came out in the 80s with workout tapes. Was it Farrah Fawcett? Suzanne Summers? Is that who it was? The blonde lady? I can't think of it. I can't remember. Jane Fonda was the 70s, right? Either way, they were all in a young teenager's mind at all times. I must have wore those VHS tapes up. Disgusting. But you throw in Zoe's candor and doing a southern accent and doing her best to Foley, um, Rose's character, who's trying to become the superstar that she is. And then each episode does a great job at building the head-on collision of these two workout video enthusiasts who are trying to break into the genre and make it popular. And it does become popular. If you go by this timeline in real life, the 80s just boomed, man. Workout aerobics, home videos was not done before, and then boom, it just came so successfully, and that's what you look for is these two people butting heads, and then boom. I think it's episode 6 where Rose's character goes on live TV and admits to being bulimic. Ugh, it's a heartbreaking disorder, bulimia and anorexia and obesity. We don't like to talk about it. We really don't. And we're getting better. It's just slow. And this show does a good job at depicting it. I want more because I want people to understand the mental aspect to those diseases and disorders because we do put pressure on it. But when she goes on live TV and changes the course of things by saying it, that changes the last couple episodes of that season, right? The dynamic of that show uh, takes a different path. It's always been a dark comedy if you go by the first two, and it's always been about eating disorders and things like that. But as a man who suffered with bulimia for so long, um, that to hear somebody give that. I was happy. Rose Byrne is the perfect person to play this character, not because of anything I've ever heard of her has always been great, not because I know her to have any eating disorder, but I know as a woman in Hollywood, she probably had pressure to lose weight and crap like that. And her faces are so stoic and so. Her facial expressions are fantastic. You can find that in her other show, Platonic or Damages. She's a very talented actor, and she does a great job expressing discomfort with her face. It's all in her face, and eating disorders. Generally, you can see on people's faces, and she does a good job at playing such a feisty person who wants to do great and not be fat, but take it out on her fat friend uh, and just wants to be the powerhouse that she is because she's a very independent and heavy hitting woman. I I hope she gets a nod. I really do. Like I said, it's not the greatest show in the world. There is better out there. 7.5 for season three is okay, but with all due respect, I think she needs all the nominations that she can get, whether it's from Platonic or this show. She does a great job. Just facial expressions, 110%. She's an actor, and you can really see it. She comes into her own, man. She's a fighter. Great stuff. Uh, Tough subject matter, and if you're not into that, great. But it makes fun of the VHS era of aerobic television and that and what PBS or Studio 10 TV channels back in the day you used to watch and get infomercials all day of local people doing stuff. So if you're not into that and you don't want to hear about bulimia and anorexia, then fuck off. Oh, sorry, pardon my language. Grow up because it's out there and we need to talk about it. But we also need you to watch this show because you get to see Zoe and Rose just duke it out perfectly. And then, like I said, episode six is, I believe that's the one where she comes out and says she's bulimic live on TV, and that changes the course of the last little bit. I believe it's episode six, might be episode seven. But you can see it didn't make my list of top five, but still a great season, better than season two, I thought. And it's probably because Zoe and Greta comes to her own. It's just the men take a backseat, and that's okay. Fuck them. Anyways, I'm swearing a lot today. I don't know. Maybe it's because I want you guys to watch it. I love you guys. You know what I'm going to say. If I don't see you, good to Morgan, good to Nobbin, and good to knock. Ciao. Producer, play some music, but nothing Apple TV can sue me.